The Department of Public Health and Human Services is pleased to bring you Aging Horizons. Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, fraud, legal issues, veterans benefits, and caregiving. Aging Horizons is a program dedicated to inform and prepare Montanans on these timely issues, making a difference to you and your loved ones. Here now is today's program host.
Hi folks, today on Aging Horizons we have a great show planned for you. We're going to be talking to a couple of folks who work for APS, or Adult Protective Services. They're a community person resource that can help with exploitation and any kind of harm that might be coming to a person that's an older adult. We have a lot of great information, so stay with us and we'll tell you all about it.
I think the most pleasant surprise when we turned 65 and signed up for Medicare Part B was finding out about our Welcome to Medicare preventive visit.
It was free, and it gave us the opportunity to visit with our doctors and establish a plan for our health going forward.
They reviewed our medical history, measured our height, weight, blood pressure, and counseled us on other risk factors.
To learn more about Medicare's free or low-cost preventive and wellness benefits, call your local SHIP counselor at 800-551-3191. I mentioned it's free, right?
Twice.
This is Bill. He just received his new Medicare card and is following some simple rules to protect himself from fraud. He knows to never give out his Medicare, Social Security, or bank number over the phone. And this is Nancy. She knows that to detect any problems, she always reads her Medicare Summary Notice or Medicare Advantage EOB to make sure the billing is correct. Both Bill and Nancy know that anything suspicious can be reported to Montana SMP at 1-800-551-3191.
Receiving help for Ella has been life-changing, and the best word for it is relief. I was the therapist, I was the aide, and I couldn't be the mom because emotionally you're just to your wits' end. You're trying to survive.
I provide care for the Harrises, specifically their daughter Ella. Respite care is extremely challenging, but the rewards that you receive from it are 100 times more than working with a child that doesn't have special needs. Once they get something, it's everything. It's a you celebrate. You don't just enjoy those moments. You celebrate every moment that you get, that you guided them to that next step.
Respite. It's okay to need it. It's okay to want it. Will you provide it? Call 800-224-6034 or visit respite.mt.gov.
It went from survival to enjoying life and being able to be a mom again.
Brought to you by the Montana Broadcasters and this station.
Hi everyone and welcome to Aging Horizons, brought to you by the Department of Public Health and Human Services. I'm Kimmy Everman, your host, and as I said in the open, we're going to be talking about a really important subject today with a couple of members of the Adult Protective Services Unit at DPHHS in the Senior and Long-Term Care Division. I'd like to introduce first Michael Hagenlock. And Michael, you're the Bureau Chief.
That's correct.
Of that acronym, again, APS. And we have Trevor Tangent. And Trevor, you're a Program Manager.
That's correct.
So you're working, you're the boss, and then you're working sort of with the field staff and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Right, great. Well, Michael, let's start with you. Let's define, first of all, APS, Adult Protective Services, what you do for the community so people really get it.
Sure. Yeah, with Adult Protective Services, we're an investigation unit. Our job is to investigate adult maltreatment, which includes abuse, neglect, or exploitation, including sexual abuse. And so all of our investigators out there, they're across all 56 counties, and we respond to any allegation of abuse, neglect, or exploitation. And that's what our job is to do, is to investigate those. And then the second part of that is to connect the individuals, those that are age 60 and older, or those adults with disability,
right,
with services within their community. So we try to be a liaison, if you will, in some cases, to make those connections and help find the resources that are available in their community.
Well, thank you, Michael. That really gives me a great sort of visual of what we're talking about. Trevor, maybe we could talk with you about the actual resources, since you're kind of boots on the ground, aren't you? And so maybe you could talk a little bit about what's out there.
Yeah, absolutely. It varies from county to county.
Sure.
We like to think our local investigators in those counties are the subject matter experts and what resources are available to them. And really it span across the board, anything from making referrals for in-home care to help an individual with whatever needs they may have. Could be Meals on Wheels, could be assisting family with whatever they're going through, attempting to obtain guardianships, that sort of thing. Really it kind of spans across the board. There's another component. We work with a lot of different agencies. We're a civil investigative unit, but in some of our cases...
So you have badges and guns.
Nope.
But you still do an extremely important service.
Absolutely.
For that person.
Yep, absolutely. And oftentimes in some of our cases, especially when you're talking about any sort of violence or abuse, that sort of thing, or even theft with the exploitations, those take a criminal turn. And we really rely on our law enforcement partners, and we will give referrals to them and work cases in conjunction, because while they're handling the criminal aspect, we're taking care of the whole person.
See, that's awesome, because I feel like, you get that person and you know what's going on, and then if it's not turned over to the next partner for consequences, it just isn't justice.
Absolutely.
Michael, let's talk a bit about partners, because you and I were talking off camera a little bit about, you collaborate a lot, because this is not a one shop kind of a job, is it? Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, no, and just like Trevor was explaining, the different partners that we do work out there, and when you look at the totality, Adult Protective Service, our investigators do an amazing job, but they can't do it on their own.
Right.
So, not only working with folks within the community for resources, we also have to look outside of that. So, we do work with the local law enforcement, we work with the Attorney General's office, the Commissioner of Security and Investments, the Medicaid Fraud Control Unit.
Sure.
Even our partners with the Federal Bureau of Investigation. We work with many, many different partners, because this is the only way we can truly address. And as Trevor was explaining, there's one thing to hold the offender, if you will, accountable for their actions,
right,
but it's also getting the services and the connection. Legal Service Developer, it's another program that we work very closely with. Oftentimes people have questions about their documents, their power of attorneys, any of those, the Homestead Act, all those things. We're not attorneys, we're not legal
right,
folks.
and you don't want to be,
no.
but that's why it's so important to have those collaborations.
Yep, and it's really important that we bring the right experts in. We're experts in our field.
Is it? Why? Tell us why. Yeah.
Because you want the right information.
Right.
The one thing that we have really heard from the community out there is not being able to understand who to go talk to or get the right information.
It's a maze.
It is a maze, and so we help make that maze a little more simpler to navigate, and be able to get them in connection with those experts in those particular fields that are meeting their needs. And that's what this is about, is making sure that adult out there, they retain autonomy, they retain the right to stay in their home and live their life as they choose, and we want to help them do that. And we do that by making sure they're getting the experts that can give them the proper advice, rather than hearing it on news programs or Facebook or YouTube and all that. There's a lot of misinformation out there, and it causes confusion. And so we try to reduce that confusion by bringing the right experts in.
Yeah, we just have a minute left, and I just wanted to say that this is just a great learning experience for me, so I hope it is for our audience. I didn't realize how much investigation, the partnerships that you had, and that's pretty stunning to me, so I'm really glad to hear that. And I think when we come back, could we talk a bit about what's going on in Montana?
Let's do.
Because I think we have it here, just because we're a lovely, beautiful state. We still have
great people out there we're working with.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Well, folks, please stay with us. This is a difficult subject to some folks, but it's also extremely important to have the right information. Remember, that's power, and it'll allow you to, as Michael said, stay in your home with dignity, to live on your own and make your own decisions without any sort of pressure from outside people or people who want to hurt you. Come back.
With as many as 1 in 10 Americans at risk for Alzheimer's or some other form of dementia, chances are someone you know and love will receive that diagnosis. When that happens, you may well feel devastated, but know that you are not alone. Help is available. You don't have to face dementia by yourself. Call the free 24/7 Alzheimer's Association helpline, 800-272-3900, for guidance and support.
It's been 27 years. I never thought I'd still be smoking, but here I am, COPD and all. I'm about to have a granddaughter. There's so much to show her, but I'm scared I won't be able to keep up like I used to. I kind of gave up on myself on quitting. But it's different now. I want to be here for her and for my daughter.
When I stopped showing up, Jim showed up at my door. He took me to the hospital in town to get me help. That's the day Jim saved my life.
Everyone has a role to play in preventing suicide. Know the signs and don't be afraid to speak up. If someone you know is in crisis or emotional distress, the only wrong thing to say is nothing at all. Call 800-273-TALK or text MT to 741-741.
Every generation produces heroes, men and women who step forward to defend our country in time of need, no matter the personal cost to themselves. And though we can never fully repay them, we can make sure they have access to low-cost, long-term care when they need it. That's what Montana's Veterans Homes are all about. If you've got a hero in need in your family, call us. We can help.
Hi folks, welcome back to Aging Horizons. We've been talking about adult protective services today. Very important topic. I'd like to introduce our experts. We have Michael Hagenlock, and Michael, you're Bureau Chief for the Adult Protective Services. And then we have Trevor Tanton, and Trevor, you're a program manager within that APS program.
Yes, ma'am.
Great to have you both. Thanks
you
so much. So Michael, let's talk a bit about the cold hard facts.
Okay.
Because we have some for Montana.
We do.
And I guess as far as that goes, Trevor has really been working on that a lot, and maybe can give us a good explanation of what's out there?
Absolutely. Trevor will know the numbers, and we work very closely on it.
And can I just ask you, what do the numbers do for you? What do they mean for you?
The numbers help us in many, many different ways. One, obviously, we want to know what's going on in our own community.
Sure.
We know nationally what some numbers tell us, but is that happening here in Montana?
Right,
and we're finding out it's very true here in Montana. And these numbers help us understand where we can do better. There's a lot of different research and stuff that we are currently doing right now. And this is what's precipitated some of the changes in our program. We're listening to our folks in the community, what will best serve them.
Meet people
and that's
where they
these
are.
help out.
That's what
Yep.
you do.
So-
Trevor, you know, I understand that you've worked on those numbers a lot. Can you tell us a little bit just about where we stand in Montana? And
Absolutely. You know, it's well known that we have an aging population in Montana. Just to kind of put things in perspective, I believe populace, Montana is about 1.2 million. I may be a little off there, but I think that's somewhat
not much.
close.
I think you're close.
Yeah, so, you know, just rounding out state fiscal year for 2020 for us, we had about 4,500 cases with alleged victims of abuse, neglect, and exploitation. That's fairly staggering considering our population.
Yeah.
And also when you take into account just 2 years prior, so that's about a 30% increase since 2018. So we're on the rise and already projecting this year to outpace last year, unfortunately.
Oh no. That's scary. And especially a 30% jump is, to me, just very, very frightening. So, Trevor, you know, in terms of those numbers, what's behind those numbers? I mean, tell us a little bit about what you're investigating out there every day.
Absolutely. So we call it A&E. That's our acronym for abuse, neglect, and exploitation. You know, broken down, abuse can be in many forms: physical, mental, emotional. Neglect, you know, that could be self-neglect to include caregiver neglect. And then exploitation, really to put that in perspective, it's the theft of money, property, or services. You know, of our aging population. And so it's extremely important to know those numbers. We don't believe really that the increase in numbers is because there's any more abuse that's occurring, but just that the word is getting out about recognizing the abuse and who to report it to. And we've really been kind of taking leaps and bounds to get the message out there, to get the message out to folks and do a lot of training throughout the state.
And we also talked about how heartbreaking some of these cases are that you run into every day. Is there any particular one that you might share with us to tell us a little bit about what's out there?
They're all concerning, and not one really is worse than another. You put into perspective.
Pain is pain.
Exactly. Yep. So there are higher dollar values that are stolen, whether it's land or capital itself. There's cases that involve more abuse, but really any of those cases are terrible because that's terrible for that person. That's what they've experienced.
Exactly. Michael, why do you think more people are reporting? You have this belief that it's not that it's going up, it's reporting. Why do you believe that?
Well, part of the reason we believe this is that we've been spending a lot of time out training. We all know we lived through this last year with the pandemic, and it put a lot of stops on a lot of areas, but Adult Protective Services never stopped working. We're still out there. We've taken our protocols and worked that. But with that, we started working with many different entities, and Trevor, was instrumental in getting us into the Montana Law Enforcement Academy. Well, now we get to train the cadets out there and give them an understanding what abuse, neglect, and exploitation is not just a civil matter. In fact, it can be both a civil and a criminal matter.
Well, and so often law enforcement is involved, and if they're not, if they don't have the knowledge of how to react to a person who's mentally ill or having challenges in that way, we have a problem. So this is great news.
Right, and that where we also join with the crisis intervention team training.
Great.
This has been something that's been used across the state, and it's an amazing program. And originally it was focused on the law enforcement and how to deal with folks with different behavioral health issues. And as that has grown and they've learned and understood how beneficial this is, we've also joined in that training, and we require all of our folks to go there, not only to learn the techniques, but also to be an asset to our law enforcement. Because we recognize not every call that our ladies and gentlemen that go out on these calls requires a hard line. It needs listening.
Oh,
it needs
exactly.
help.
Thank you. That's exactly what I want. That was what I wanted to articulate, because we worry if law enforcement doesn't have that knowledge and gets involved, that something might go awry.
Yeah, and they've been instrumental in getting our folks involved in there, and they're learning from us. We present a little piece to them on elder abuse and working with the disabled folks and how to interview and how to talk with them and how to listen and understand.
How to listen. Folks, there you are. We're going to end this segment on that. It's important to listen and make sure that you're hearing even between the lines sometimes, and making sure that if there is something, you report it. If you see something, say something. It's very, very important that we all protect each other. We have a lot more to talk about. We're going to talk about WEAD when we come back, so stay with us.
I was diagnosed with diabetes in 1992, and I went into denial. It made me angry. I was a professional chef, and I didn't want to change my eating style. It took me a long time to get serious about managing my health. My perspective changed from resentment to one of loving my body, the container for my spirit. Getting help from my diabetes educator supported my goals of improved self-care. I want to feel good and have a great life. My diabetes educator helps me do this.
If the Aging Network in Montana was a restaurant, the sign out front would say, over 50 million meals served over the last 30 years. Since adequate nutrition is critical to health and quality of life, nutrition services are an important factor in keeping older Montanans healthy, independent, and living in their community and home. To find out more about senior nutrition programs in your area, call 1-800-551-3191.
Is that Robert Knievel? Captain Lewis, Captain Clark, I'm officially Evel Knievel now. I'm getting my Montana Real ID.
Did you make an appointment at mtrealid.gov?
Yes, sir.
Smile.
I brought my non-laminated Social Security card, 2 documents proving my current residential address, and my certified birth certificate.
Approved.
Go to mtrealid.gov.
Now I can fly. It's that easy.
I think the most pleasant surprise when we turned 65 and signed up for Medicare Part B was finding out about our Welcome to Medicare preventive visit.
It was free, and it gave us the opportunity to visit with our doctors and establish a plan for our health going forward.
They reviewed our medical history, measured our height, weight, blood pressure, and counseled us on other risk factors.
To learn more about Medicare's free or low-cost preventive and wellness benefits, call your local SHIP counselor at 800-551-3191. I mentioned it's free, right?
Twice.
Hi everyone, welcome back. Glad you're with us. We're here with a couple of folks from APS today, which is Adult Protective Services. Michael Hagenlock, it's so good to have you here. You're a bureau chief over there at APS. Let's just briefly talk about, in our last segment we were talking about if you see something, say something. Very important. Why don't people do that? I mean, you would think it'd be real easy to, you see something that is hurting someone, to call up.
Yeah, it's like anything in this area, because most of the time we're dealing with family members, trusted individuals, people we know. And we never want the message out there we can't trust individuals, right?
Right.
But when we recognize that abuse, neglect, or exploitation may be going on, or we're not sure what's going on, there becomes a fear that if I report this, that somehow someone's going to get in trouble. For our elderly folks, oftentimes it's about shame. Because it may be their son or their daughter or their grandchild, so shame can set in. They're afraid that these individuals are going to get in trouble and they're going to be the cause of it, and which we try to reinforce with them. People make their choices and decisions. Right. You reporting does not cause anyone to get in trouble, because it's their act, not the person who reported to us that would lead to the problem.
And yet, such a confusing, complicated thing for a person.
It's very emotional.
Yes, absolutely.
And when you think about the whole dynamics, and think about it within your own self. Can you really believe that somebody you trust or know would do something like this? So we often go into denial that it may be even happening. So there's just a plethora of reasons why we wouldn't do it. And we want folks to know it's a safe place. Come talk to us. We do not divulge the reporter. And we're focused on the elder person or the disabled person or the person with disability, what they want and how we can help them. They won't dictate our investigation, but we will help them get the supportive services. We listen.
Well, and it's very heartbreaking to know that oftentimes these folks feel if they say anything, they'll get kicked out of their home, or that person won't help them anymore. So I can see where people would feel hesitant.
Yeah.
But I guess, and let's go over that point one more time. You don't divulge information. This is a confidential situation.
Right. Everything that we do is confidential, and it's probably the most frustrating for the folks out in the community.
Sure, that want to help somebody.
Right, and they want to call and ask us, what are we doing, what's going on? We will not share any information. Our investigations are confidential. Obviously, the person who allegedly is being abused or neglected knows some information. The person that may have done it, they're going to know some information, but that's really about it. We won't, and regardless who they are, we will never divulge the reporter. We believe in protecting them.
Yes, and good information, because privacy and confidentiality is huge to folks becoming willing to take the step to call. All right, so let's talk about something fun. Well, and again, not fun, but it was a day of celebration, I know, and that's the World Elder Abuse Awareness Day. It's June 15th every year. It's called WEAD for short, and it was, a very important day. Tell us about it.
Yeah, the World Elder Abuse Awareness Day has been around for a number of years. It is something that is done and experienced worldwide on June 15th every year. And it is to get the message out, the good, the bad, everything that's going on, and the changes and the good things that are going on where we're helping these individuals. So every year on June 15th, we get folks together. This last year, we were really blessed to have our Governor Gianforte there. We were able to have the Attorney General there. The Director for DPHHS was there, and Bank of the Rockies. I mean, there were so many folks that came out, besides the public that attended this event, to learn and hear about what's going on right here in our beautiful state.
Trevor, what was your experience like on that day?
Yeah, it was awesome just to see the message getting across. The state of Montana leaders on a united front, just everybody putting out the good information as far as what's going out there, and even the bad information, the things that most folks don't want to hear, particularly our numbers.
But it's imperative that people get the whole story. Correct?
Absolutely.
And I think it's also wonderful to know that our leaders are aware.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and both their governor and the director and the attorney general's office and our state auditor's office, they expressed that, the need to collaborate, the need to work together and as a team. And for us, it was really wonderful to hear those powers to be, if you will, in our state, our leadership, to embrace this and talk about the experiences or things that have come across their desk or through their personal life and share those stories. Right. It was wonderful to hear and have that support. It's imperative that we protect the seniors of our state.
Right.
With ageism, there's so much going on there where folks have this perception of what it is to become, 60 and older.
Right.
And obviously many of us may be watching this program, or some of us that are on this program are there.
Yes, exactly.
and we understand it. Yeah. It's like this magical number all of a sudden. We have never said that because we're 60 and older that we can't do things for ourselves. Right. But with that comes some difficulties. Many of us have different medical or health issues and whatnot that might impair our abilities to do certain things.
Right.
And that's where we can come in to make sure, that's what we determine as our at-risk clientele that we want to help and make sure they can protect themselves.
I'm very glad because I definitely am aware of ageism these days myself. Both of you, thank you so much for being with us. I'm so thrilled to know we have you and your service and all your resources for the community. It's just awesome. Thank you so much for your work.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Folks, remember, if you see something, say something. You might really change a person's life by doing so. For Aging Horizons, I'm Kimmy Everman. Thanks for being with us today.
Special thanks to the Department of Public Health and Human Services for their continued support. Hosts on Aging Horizons are program specialists at the Montana Office on Aging. Production facilities provided by Video Express Productions. For more information about Aging Horizons, call the Department of Public Health and Human Services toll-free at 800-332-2272.